I'm Russ Jaffe. I'm an internist physician, biochemist, and clinical pathologist. I'm a PhD biochemist, physiologist, certified clinical nutritionist, fellow of the National Academy for Clinical Biochemistry, and overseas fellow of the Royal Society of Medicine. And I maintain fellow society status in the American Society for Clinical Pathology, the American College of Nutrition, scientific fellow of the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology, and a fellow of the American Medical Laboratory Immunologists. I'm also a fellow at the Health Studies Collegium Research Foundation, and I'm director and founder of PERQUE and ELISA Act Biotechnologies. First, a brief review of what we went into detail looking at the underlying causes of CFIDs and fibromyalgia, this complex myriad of overlapping conditions. And you see on the left the central role that prolonged fatigue states play. When we have interrupted or poor or inadequate sleep for an extended period of time, that potentiates fatigue, pain, dispositions, inability or poor concentration, and mood irritability or inability to stay at equanimity. And this overlaps with fibromyalgia, as you see on the right, where tender points are pathognomonic and essential for the diagnosis. It equally overlaps with chronic fatigue syndrome, depressions, anxiety, irritable bowel syndromes, depending on which type of health professional you go to and which particular symptom seems to be more prominent. You may be diagnosed with one or more of these when the fundamental issue is a loss of feedback due to a prolonged fatigue situation, lack of restorative sleep, causing all sorts of hormonal, neurochemical, immunologic, digestive, and detoxification rhythms in the body to also become imbalanced or disbalanced. On the right, you see a picture of Antonio Canova's lovely sculpture, The Three Graces, and yellow dots overlaid there on the 17 points that have pathognomonic or diagnostic significance according to the 1990 American College of Rheumatology criteria for FM fibromyalgia. And you see on the bottom of this slide the link to the podcasts and to the webinars that we have archived, particularly part one of this series. Now let's look at the conventional understanding and what can help in these clinical situations where pain, internal and external, is playing a prominent role. So fibromyalgia with or without chronic fatigue immune dysfunction syndrome, fibromyalgia with or without CFIDs, with or without RSD, reflex sympathetic dystrophy, with or without MDS, mitochondrial dysfunction syndrome. It is important for folks to be aware and educated that the external force is one thing, the stress imbalance inside us is more of choice than of chance, it's more of habit than genetics, it's more of what we choose to practice that becomes our state of being than the external force itself. So the daily habits of living are very important in helping us rebalance and reset so that we can have awareness that helps us minimize rather than maximize and carry with us the stress and intolerances of daily living. It helps to have a mutual support group, whether that's internal or external to your social circle, so that you have friends and loved ones and trusted allies that you can talk with and listen to, so that by being there for each other, you can minimize the adversity. Behavior modification is possible. We can set up healthy restorative sleep rhythms. We can practice equanimitas. That's also the name of a book by Sir William Osler that I highly recommend. It just means being at equanimity. It means being at balance. It means being resilient and reserved, able to engage without being pushed either in any particular direction. It is also important that we schedule and pace ourselves. We each have a certain nature and style, and if we live in harmony with that nature, we will be healthier. If we live in disharmony, we will be less healthy. Exercise is important, but particularly low-impact aerobic and stretching exercises. We recommend Traeger movement mentastics. We recommend Pilates. We recommend Alexander technique or Feldenkrais functional integration. We do not recommend intensive physical therapy. It's not about the limits of your ability. It is about exploring the capacities you have and stretching them out a little further using low-impact aerobics to recondition the body. There are certain medications that have been used, although I rarely find them necessary. Various kinds of tranquilizers, NSAIDs, COX-2 inhibitors, serotonin reuptake inhibitors have all been used. We rarely find these necessary, but they are part of conventional care and deserve to be mentioned. We think getting at the underlying causes is more effective, and that's what we'll be talking about going forward. Now let's compare first where I came from, the world of pathology, versus where I am now, the world of physiology, and what are the comparisons and the differences. On the left, we see the world of pathology. On the right, we see the world of physiology. On the left, care is based on morbidity and dysfunction. Care is based on making the proper diagnosis of what symptom or symptom complex is present, and the tests are designed to measure the last maybe 20% of remaining function. The goal is to find the diagnostic name, to properly label the syndrome, and this is best, of course, for statistical, retrospective information, gives us valuable information about morbidity and mortality, about how many people suffered how much in the past, and how many died, and for what reasons. But frankly, it gives us very little information that would guide us in health promotion or in forward health enhancement. If we look at the right side, here care is based on homeostasis, resilience, and balance, and tolerance, and being able to have an effective immune response system. Tests here are designed to measure qualitative functions. How able are you? What are your abilities? The goal is to have a functional outcome so that we reach certain healthy goals with regard to measures, whether they be lab tests or self-assessments. And this is best at patient-specific information, learning to live companionably with ourselves and with others, learning to know ourselves better, and to use that knowledge, that self-awareness, to guide our habits. The physiology first approach is about better fibromyalgia outcomes as we focus it in this webinar. It's about reconditioning the immune system using comprehensive LRA by ELISA tests for comprehensive relief. There are also inexpensive at-home kind of self-tests that we recommend and we'll discuss. First, morning urine pH, ascorbate calibration to find out how much ascorbate antioxidant is needed to deal with oxidative stress, hydration to make sure we have enough fluids to move our body, and transit time to make sure that what we're eating is digested, assimilated, and eliminated in an appropriate time window. Then we'll talk about targeted supplementation, what was used in the fibromyalgia outcome study, and how this can be applied through the Alkaline Way, an overall approach to health restoration techniques where we go by results. First, what are our markers? We want to have targeted nutrient supplementation to achieve certain goals, and these are to get the healthy values, sometimes called HV or healthy values, for HSCRP, that is high sensitivity C-reactive protein, HSCRP, and it should be less than 0.5 milligrams per liter. Homocysteine, and homocysteine should be less than 6 micromoles per liter. Oxidized HDL and LDL should essentially be 0. First AM urine pH should be 6.5 to 7.5, and cortisol DHEA rhythm should be within the healthy balance zone. The Alkaline Way are health restoration techniques to help systematically achieve this higher level of well-being and this lower level of risk. LRA by ELISA tests are important. Here we can observe functioning lymphocytes, the memory white cells, in autologous or patient's own plasma. It's an autologous culture, and then we challenge them with specific antigens that have been coded on the specific walls or wells or dishes that we do the reaction. Lymphocytes, to remind us on the left, lymphocytes are immune memory cells, and they include all three delayed or late phase reactions. They're modulated by hormones, neurochemicals, metabolic conditions, and digestive competences. And here you see a picture many years ago when we were actually doing the fibromyalgia study. One of our technicians, Susan, and I were looking together at the lymphocytes through a microscope. Here you see a positive reaction with the halos or open spaces around the cells indicative of reactivity. If there were no reactions, you would not see those clear rims around the cells. This lymphocyte response assay, LRA by ELISA ACT, is done starting with a whole blood specimen that's sent to our lab. It must follow the acquisition or recommendation preparations exactly, please do. And the whole blood, or 28 cc's, 1 ounce of it, is taken by the technique and kept at 4 to 10 degrees during transport and storage so that it can be rewarmed in the laboratory. We then, in the laboratory, gently spin and separate so that the red cells go one way and the cell-rich plasma, or the lymphocyte-rich plasma, is used 40 microliters per well, incubated at about body temperature, 35 plus or minus 1 degree C for 3 hours, and then we read the test within an hour after that. Now, by comparison, it used to take 1 ounce of blood to do 1 item in 3 weeks with a 30% variance and a cost of $200 to $300 per item. Now we're able to do hundreds of items on 1 ounce of blood within 3 hours with a 3% variance and measure all delayed immune pathways concurrently and comprehensively and uniquely by LRA by ELISA ACT lymphocyte response assays. Community-based FM studies have been done. Our goal was to restore tolerance, to reset hypersensitivity, and this was achieved by substituting for immunoreactive substances identified by the LRA by ELISA ACT tests, each individual having their own specific set. There is no set specific for the condition. These are patient-specific tests that help achieve sustained remissions in these conditions. So we want to use the LRA by ELISA ACT tests and then substitute for the immunoreactive substances. We want to correct nutritional deficiencies that reduce defense and repair abilities. We want to enhance the ability to defend and repair. And this means having all of the essential nutrients in sufficient amounts for each individual. We want to improve detoxification of xenotoxins for the individual. We want to concentrate and enhance human healing responses. More than anything else, what we are about is restoring and maintaining, enhancing and supporting human healing responses, removing obstacles to recovery, enhancing abilities to renew. With regard to the outcome study, there were some remarkable findings, including delayed hypersensitivity or lymphocyte response reactions in the specific fibromyalgia cohort that we studied. And we found that the flavor enhancer MSG reacted in 42.5% of all cases, Candida albicans in 37.5%, caffeine, chocolate, food colorings, cola beverages, and shrimp in 35%, cow dairy products in 25%, sulfite and metabisulfite in 22.5%, xylene and yogurt the same, 22.5%, aspartame, BHA, cadmium, lead, sodium benzoate, and oranges, 20%. These are the statistics and the summaries, but for each individual, the list was for them specific, and we recommend that the individual be tested and their individual reactive items be substituted during the window of opportunity while you help restore tolerance and digestive competence, tolerance in the immune system, digestive competence in the GI tract. Here we see one of several outcome slides that I showed in the last webinar. In our case control study, the overall health scores showed changes. We normalized the data so everyone was at 100% before. So you see the controls, the primary and secondary fibromyalgia on the left at 100% before, and compared to themselves at 3 months, all three groups were better. But notice at 6 months, the control group was going back down. Their health was declining further. And the light blue or turquoise showed further improvement. the uncomplicated fibromyalgia improved, and the secondary fibromyalgia, starting from a lower base point, improved even more on a percentage basis. So this showed very clearly that in the short run, many things work, but in the long run, programs like the LRA by ELISA Act tests and the treatment guide are effective. On the bottom of the slide, you see the journal citation for this publication. Now, this Alkaline Way, how does PERQ Integrative Health help fibromyalgia reconditioning? How does PERQ Integrative Health bring a fibromyalgia reconditioning plan forward? Well, first, we want to substitute for the immunoreactive substances identified using LRA by ELISA Act tests and that burden the immune system and cause dysrhythms in neurohormonal control systems. So we want to substitute for the immunoreactive substances. We want to correct nutritional deficiencies that reduce defense and repair abilities. So we want to correct deficiencies to enhance abilities. We want to improve the ability to detoxify the body's toxic burden, to deal with the foreign substances that are all too common today, that our body has some capacity to deal with and a better capacity to deal with when the immune system is robust and tolerant, when our nutritional needs have been met. And then we want to concentrate mind and body together to evoke human healing responses. Our mind and body are always connected. Everything that affects one affects the other. And so physical and mental activities and exercises are recommended. Just as we stretch our body physically, we want to stretch our mind mentally. We can do that with inspirational readings. We can do that with active meditation. We can do that with active prayer. We can do that with relaxation response. We can do that with biofeedback, but therapeutic biofeedback. So there are many ways, our choice. Now let's look at the PERQ supplement overview for chronic fatigue immune dysfunction syndrome and fibromyalgia. We're going to look sequentially at the PERQ 30 to 60 day detox program, the PERQ Potent C Guard as the central antioxidant that helps protect from oxidative damage. We'll look at PERQ Repair Guard and how that synergizes to stimulate repair and antioxidant sufficiency. We'll look at PERQ EnduraPack Guard, recycled glutamine and its role. We'll look at PerkMight Guard, the CoQ10, micellized rice bran oil, and we'll look at PerkMag Plus Guard and percholine citrate as buffering agents to deal with the metabolic acids. First, the PERQ Detox Program. For healthy people, a 30-day program is recommended. For many people with fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome, we think a gentler program makes more sense. You see on the top the box into which all 4 bottles, the 2 on the left, the EPA DHA Guard and the Detoxin Guard, and the 2 on the right, the PERQ Potent C Guard and PERQ Liver Guard. Those are all in the box, along with a free PERQ Detox Kit Quick Start CD, a gift of a 7-day pill holder for morning and evening supplements, a 10% off on the next purchase, and a welcome to the PERQ Detox Program. As I mentioned, for healthy people, this is a PERQ Advanced 30-day program, but as you can see, there's a modified PERQ Gentle Detox Program, which is often more appropriate for people with chronic illness, especially those with fibromyalgia or those with chronic fatigue immune dysfunction syndrome. Let's look first at the PERQ Advanced 30-day program in the middle. You would take 1 of the PERQ Detoxin Guard morning and evening, 1 of the PERQ Liver Guard morning and evening, 2 of the PERQ Potent C tabs in the morning, 1 in the evening, and 1 of the PERQ EPA DHA Guard morning and evening. If you stretch that for the gentle 60-day detox program so that people can clear things without feeling worse on their way to feeling better, you would use a half of a PERQ Detoxin Guard. They are scored in the morning and the other half in the evening. You'd use 1 Liver Guard a day. You'd use 1 Potent C Guard in the morning and a half in the evening, and 1 EPA DHA Guard. And then it would be a 60-day or 2-month gentle detox to get the bad stuff out and the good stuff in. The PERQ Potent C Guard is buffered, 100% reduced all L-ascorbate, containing magnesium, potassium, zinc, and calcium as buffering minerals. It has no hidden ingredients. We at PERQ have full disclosure on all of the labels and products. It's really safer for people with food and chemical sensitivities and suited for all those who want to have antioxidant protection from oxidative stress and free radical damage. Here we get to rethink the antioxidant recycling network. Ascorbates are really key to clinical success because they either regenerate or protect almost all, essentially all of the other biological antioxidants. Form and functions of ascorbates are now understood. Antioxidants prevent oxidative damage. We want to have enough of them continuously, and we have to replenish them continuously to prevent oxidative free radical damage from occurring. The Alkaline Way is a way of summarizing safer detoxification. Our body needs, we suggest, individual calibration. How much do I, as a person, as an individual, need in regard to potent C guard, in regard to vitamin C or ascorbates? And I do say ascorbates because it is a substrate. I prefer not to use the term vitamin C because it's not really a vitamin. To make a specific point, ascorbates protect and enhance, regenerate glutathione. The best way to raise glutathione in cells is to have adequate ascorbate. Adequate ascorbate recycles and protects glutathione itself, but also stimulates glutathione synthetase to make more enzyme to make more glutathione inside the cell. Externally taken glutathione is mostly helpful in the gut. The tripeptide does not get into cells. The individual amino acids do, and it's those individual amino acids that are synthesized or stuck back together inside the cell to make glutathione. This is summarized for you in the Health Studies Collegium Joy of Food, the Alkaline Way Guide, and that is available both online and in print form through perque.com. Here we see about 3,500 people, 3,496 if I'm reading correctly. On the far left, the people who calibrated at less than 4 grams in bright yellow, people who were reasonably healthy, calibrated between 5 and 10 grams. That's the dark blue, the teal blue. The middle group, the green, were the ones who calibrated between 10 and 130 grams of ascorbate. And then above 130 grams is the red population. And you see such a wide diversity. Indeed, ascorbate has the widest range of need of any substance in biology. We suggest that's because of all the myriad functions and protective actions that ascorbate does, and in a way sacrifices herself for. So really healthy people don't need much ascorbate to calibrate. Really unhealthy people need a boatload, or at least a lot. And many people in between will find that they need 10 or 40 or 60 or 80 grams to calibrate. We recommend a repeat on a weekly basis until you reach plateau. And most people find that as they repeat their calibrations and their body is more able to repair, they actually need more ascorbate in subsequent weeks. And so you ramp up until you reach plateau, until for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks in a row you have the same amount to calibrate. Then you stay at that amount until your stools get bulkier, and that indicates you are more efficient and need less. And then you recalibrate on the way down so that once repair is done, you don't need as much ascorbate, and you calibrate again to find out the lesser amounts that are needed because your body is now more resilient. It has cleaned itself out of all the repair deficits that had accumulated and was now able to benefit from daily repair rather than the overhang of deferred repair. Flavonoids and flavonols are important and controversial. These are potent plant antioxidant promoters of repair. We have looked at the many thousands and thousands of flavonoids and flavanols, and we have, for good and present reasons, both experiential and data-based, chosen quercetin dihydrate as our preferred anti-allergic, anti-inflammatory, pro-repair. It activates mast cells, basophils, neutrophils, eosinophils, T and B lymphocytes. It brings the first responder cells forward in a more resilient and effective way. And there is synergy between the quercetin dihydrate and the soluble OPC, a flavanol, that soaks up free radicals involved in inflammation and allergies and has anti-cancer protective value. You see some references to that effect on the bottom of the slide. But the takeaway is that flavonoids and flavanols are needed. PERK Pain Guard, PERK Repair Guard, and PerkWay Guard Repair have the unique combinations that we at PERK Integrative Health have found to be most helpful and that we're eager to share with you. Quercetin dihydrate is one among many thousands of flavonoids. It is a natural component of most fruits and vegetables. It is truly hypoallergenic and potent, safer, and effective. Other quercetins may have many problems. Quercetin dihydrate does not, and that's why we use it, why we've pioneered an emphasis on it, and why we're privileged to bring to you PERK Repair Guard, PerkWay Guard Repair, and also PERK Pain Guard that have quercetin dihydrate, along with the OPC and other protective elements. Quercetin and vitamin C have a connection. Buffered ascorbate and quercetin dihydrate are antihistaminic. They are safer for regulation. In other words, they stabilize the cells that cause the swelling, that cause sinusitis and the histaminic reactions, the hives, wheezes, itching, and shock-like reactions. All of these are dialed down. They're not poisoned. They're not inhibited. They're not as much needed because the cells have a more stable membrane when there's buffered ascorbate and quercetin dihydrate present. Quercetin dihydrate enhances reduction of dehydroascorbic acid or oxidized ascorbate back to the reduced ascorbate. But dehydroascorbate is a very long relaxation intermediate. It is the first oxidation and reversible oxidation state of ascorbate, but it doesn't cause free radical damage. And I want to emphasize that while there's been much confusion, ascorbate is always a protective antioxidant in the body, and it is never a pro-oxidant in the body. PERK recycled glutamine, PERK Endura Pack Guard, energizes muscle, gut, and brain through the recycled glutamine. This is a patented, unique formula that we've had the privilege of developing and testing, and we recommend PERK Endura Pack Guard to re-energize and repair the gut, to keep the brain working smoothly and clearly, and to get all the benefits of glutamine without going outside physiology, without any risk at all of glutamate buildup, because glutamine recycled by PAC does not build up glutamate. That's why PERK Endura Pack Guard has been so helpful, especially for those who are concerned about the excitoneurotoxin glutamate effects. Now, magnesium. That magnesium is nature's calcium channel blocker. Ionized magnesium and choline citrate overcomes magnesium uptake block. Neutral tiny droplet is formed in the gut and taken up by neutral pores in the cells. So magnesium deficit in the cells leads to cellular acidosis because you lack the buffer mineral magnesium to displace the proton acid. The cells become acidic, and then the body starts pulling minerals out of joints and bones and large blood vessels, leaving them healthy, less resilient. That predisposes bones to osteopenia and osteoporosis. It predisposes blood vessels to arteriosclerosis, atherosclerosis, and various vascular maladies. If you want to avoid these problems, measure and keep a healthy first AM pH. Measure the first morning voided urine after 6 hours of rest and keep it in the 6.5 to 7.5 range with PERK, Mag Plus Guard, and PERK choline citrate in sufficient amounts, plus an Alkaline Way diet to keep the first AM urine pH measure in the healthy 6.5 to 7.5 range. Here we see some data on 4 individuals who are given PERK, Mag Plus Guard, and PERK choline citrate. For 1 month, the individuals had the MG only. You see that weeks 1 through 4. Then weeks 5 through 8, they had Mag Plus Guard with choline citrate. And then for the next 4 weeks, they were followed without supplementation. What we see is that magnesium alone did not raise the ionized magnesium, indicating they had a block to uptake, as many millions of Americans do. But the addition of choline citrate increase the ionized magnesium significantly and back into healthy ranges over just a month. Over the following 3rd month, we see that 3 of the people were magnesium wasters or lost magnesium over time. One of them seems to have conserved magnesium. And so our suggestion is to replenish magnesium so that symptomatically, as well as by any other measure, you have healthy, adequate buffering magnesium, confirmed by a healthy first morning urine pH of 6.5 to 7.5. and that you continue to measure first morning urine pH and keep a log of it as part of your daily habits, and enhancing the alkaline-forming foods, as well as PerkMight Plus Guard and percholine citrate as needed to keep the first morning urine pH in the healthy 6.5 to 7.5 range. Now we come to PerkMight Guard Plus. This is micellized CoQ10 in rice bran oil for increased mitochondrial uptake and improved energy. We include mixed natural tocopherols. We believe if you need the CoQ10, you need additional mixed natural tocopherols. Maintenance is 60 to 200 milligrams a day. That would either be one 60 milligram soft gel or perhaps 200 milligram soft gels. Perk makes two convenient sizes, PerkMight Guard 100 plus and PerkMight Guard 60 plus. The Alkaline Way is an approach to truly integrative care, the practice of physiology first principles to restore homeostasis through functional tests at goal or healthy values. We want to enhance immune tolerance, hormonal and neurochemical resilience, and elective protective production so that our body is we minimize the amount of xenotoxin or environmental toxin we take in, and we maximize our ability to get it out of the body safely and effectively. So we look at consumption, activity, attitude, and environment, relationships, and find much interdependence. This is all summarized in the Alkaline Way, and we urge you to dig into these additional webinars, other podcasts that we may have done, but also to visit our website at www.perque.com for additional information, inspiration, and access. Now, what about a case example? Here we have AC, a 44-year-old woman diagnosed with fibromyalgia at age 39. She had chronic pain in the upper back and foot. She had excessive fatigue, chronic constipation, and sensitivity to chemicals and volatile organics, including perfumes. She had been put on Elavil. She had been recommended and received massage therapy. She had done RAST allergy testing for dust, pollens, and mites, with only temporary relief from all of those therapies. The integrative intervention were LRA by ELISA delayed hypersensitivity tests, Alkaline Way and Perk supplements, including Perk Life Guard, Perk Repair Guard, Perk Potency Guard, Perk Detoxin Guard, and Perk Triple EFA Guard. And what we found was that after just 5 months, back pain was 75% better, enjoys restful sleep without Elavil, has regular bowel movements, improved memory, reduced sensitivity to perfumes and VOCs, and in her words, the wind is now at my back, not at my face, not in my face. Let's look at another case. Another case success is JK, a 36-year-old female diagnosed with both chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. Symptoms included muscular pain in limbs, neck, and back, headaches, asthma, stiffness, and sinusitis. Initially, she had MRIs and CAT scans, been put on pain medications and over-the-counter supplements, had received homeopathic formulations without relief. The integrative intervention was LRA by ELISA delayed hypersensitivity tests, and following that plan, the Alkaline Way diet and Perk supplements, including Perk Life Guard, Pain Guard, and Perk Potency Guard. The clinical outcome was pain decreased greatly, feels overall health 90% better in a matter of months. So we have focused on restoring and enhancing the ability of our innate or first responder immune system to protect us. The innate immune system recycles toxins, it defends us against foreign invaders, it repairs us from wear and tear, and it does all of that on our behalf. When we give it what it needs in the way of essential nutrients, when we balance out rest and activity, when we are willing to be healthier in our habits, we find that balance of rest and active stretching and breathing, that mindfulness and active meditation practice, that movement via Traeger or Pilates or Feldenkrais or Alexander, as recommended and summarized in The Joy of Food, the Alkaline Way Guide, works. It works for the 92% of health that's determined by our habits, and yes, 8% is genetically based, but we can do something about the 92% that's not. The Alkaline Way to bringing balance is about in part buffering and the buffering required for health. Cells make metabolic acids we have to take in through our diet, through our drinking, through our eating, the alkaline buffers that offset those metabolic acids. This is a choice of alkaline foods and drinking water, as well as physical activities to keep the first AM urine pH in the healthy range, which you see on the bottom is the green zone, 6.5 to 7.5. Below that, you progressively wear out and are depleted of beneficial essential minerals. The body shifts into a survival mode and away from elective protective mode. And if you're consistently above 7.5, that could be catabolic illness that cannibalizes your muscle, your lean muscle, and puts amines and ammonia into the blood that artificially raises it above the healthy 7.5 range. And if the first morning urine pH is consistently rich in ammonia and therefore above 7.5, we would investigate catabolic illness and reset that. We recommend PerkMight Guard and percholine citrate as needed to bring that first morning urine pH in the 6.5 to 7.5 range. That can be anywhere from 1 to 8 doses a day. We recommend abdominal breathing, green diotic light, and sunlight itself as part of a proactive prevention health promotion program. Now I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and appreciate Claire Musicant. She wrote a book called Fibromyalgia, My Journey to Wellness. She was a patient of Dr. Norm Schwartz, who referred her to our lab many, many years ago. And her results were so startling after so many years of suffering that she called me up and she said, "Why don't all doctors do this?" And I explained that information diffused slowly, that we had to do outcome studies, that doctors like to look at the results of many people over time. And she said, "Have you done an outcome study?" And I said, "Not yet." And she asked why. And I said, "Well, they're hard and you have to organize them properly." She said, "I'll organize them. Do you know how to do them?" And so in the Milwaukee area, we had many dozens of people who, through her inspiration and Dr. Norm Schwartz and other physicians' guidance, and we had rating physicians who weren't treating physicians to do the study properly, and we found and have published the most successful outcome study in fibromyalgia, both simple and complicated, that has thus far been reported, and we've continued to improve upon this model as presented in this webinar.